Hello and welcome. It is 1:30. It is the 13th day of August 2021. Yes, it's Friday the 13th. Spooky, 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 spooky. Look at this spooky picture. Spooky, spooky, spooky. Spookiness. Yes, Friday the 13th. It is the 13th day also of RPG-A-Day 2021. 13 days in, several more days to go. Each day we have a prompt that we try and take the prompt and then address the prompt to some aspect of role-playing, which is really hard because the prompts this year are really unusual. But today I have the choice of a couple prompts. So two stood out: Flood and Doom. Flood and Doom. And I thought, well, now would be a perfect time to get some more heat and address the flood of comments that have come out this week saying that the Strixhaven book is going to be the Doom of the hobby. The flood of comments regarding the Strixhaven IP and how it's going to be the Doom of the hobby. See what I did there? All right, so first and foremost, this is a picture from Strixhaven, this gleefully demented necromancer stitching together this horrible monstrosity. How is this woke? How is this bad? How is this not appropriate to Dungeons and Dragons? How is this a safe? You know, all the things people are complaining about that Strixhaven is. Look at this picture. Yeah, no, there's nothing woke, safe space, gender identity about this picture. It's a necromancer stitching together the body of its fellow classmates to create this horrible undead monstrosity. Second, Strixhaven is not the Doom of Dungeons & Dragons, nor it is the Doom of the hobby. Strixhaven is a completely independent project that happens to be using the 5e engine, but much like the previous Magic the Gathering settings that they've done for this game, has absolutely nothing to do with Dungeons & Dragons. It's an optional setting set in an optional other world that has absolutely nothing to do with D&D. It is a separate entity, much the same way Eberron is a separate entity. All these Magic the Gathering setting source books are not part of the D&D world. It's almost a separate game that happens to just be using the 5e engine. So this flood of commentary, this negative commentary, is sort of unnecessary because Strixhaven has nothing to do with Dungeons and Dragons, or really the hobby as a whole. It's a separate entity, kind of like Eberron. It's sort of just out there on its own. It'll do its little thing, and then it'll slip away. It's completely optional, which means if somebody comes to your D&D game and says, I want to run a Rutabaga wizard from the Strixhaven book on page 36, you can see you can have a Rutabaga wizard. You can go, I'm not running that world. So Strixhaven and Rutabaga mages don't exist in my world. Maybe we could find something that sort of lets you do the same thing, like a druid who just happens to like plants and specifically Rutabagas. But yeah, that thing on page 36 doesn't exist in my world. On the other hand, if you want to be a sick, twisted necromancer who takes the bodies of her classmates and stitches them all together to create a horrible golem monstrosity, that's totally appropriate for my game. And yeah, I want to see you do that and see what your friends say, because this picture is pretty twisted. So yeah, it's just using the 5e engine, much the same way several other games are using the 5e engine, but it's not Dungeons and Dragons, and it's not going to be the Doom, see what I did there? Doom of the hobby. And a lot of the negative commentary towards Strixhaven seems to be somehow related to the Disney cartoon, The Owl House, and how a lot of the commentary seems to just be, oh, they want a D&D prom just like The Owl House. They want Strixhaven to make D&D like The Owl House. Okay, the prom was the season finale of the first season. Other than that, it has nothing to do with the Owl House storyline as it's on a whole. And the fact that there is a magic school on this magical island and some of the characters are students at this magic school, again, really has nothing to do with the total story of Owl House or how it relates to the shared universe of Owl House, Amphibia, and Gravity Falls. And yes, they all are shared. Ida is Stan's wife. We've seen Stan and Seuss in Amphibia. We've seen signs of Stan on the Owl Island, so we do know that there is some connection between those three games. Not that that has anything to do with this. Today we're just addressing the flood of comments that we've seen this week saying how Strixhaven is going to be the doom of the hobby. And, of course, also Owl House. For some reason, of all the things people chose to focus on, the Owl House was the one that really got everybody's feathers ruffled. And I'm like, the Owl House has really nothing to do with Strixhaven other than, there's a magic school. But the idea of mage school predates Owl House. The idea of a magic school predates Harry Potter. It's a good, fine, harmless setting. It's not an epic campaign world where you're going to be able to tell hundreds of stories. I mean, kids at magic school doing magic things and solving mysteries and figuring out what's going on with the creepy potions professor. That's 2, 3, 4 games. It's a perfect game for a party, or a perfect game setting to maybe for people who've never played before or for younger kids, but it's not a D&D setting. Strixhaven has nothing to do with D&D. It's a completely separate universe, and it's not going to spell the doom of the hobby. There always seems to be, every few months, somebody who says such and such is the doom of the hobby and blames the SJW woke ism people. And, in this case, there's really nothing woke or SJW or ism or gender studies or school nerds or it's a alternate setting exploring a meme of kids at a magic school, which is nothing new. The idea of kids at a magic school is a very old idea. Even before Harry Potter, there were kids at a magic school. And it's not going to spell the doom of the hobby. Probably in a year from now, it's not. Who's even going to be remembering it? Strixhaven, what was that? Yeah. I mean, people have already stopped talking about Ravenloft, and nobody talked about Rime of the Frost Maiden. I mean, both of those are just sort of faded away. And people were like, oh, Ravenloft's going to be the doom of the hobby. And Rime of the Frost Maiden is going to be the doom of the hobby. Strixhaven, nothing to do with the hobby. And really just, So that's me talking about the flood of commentary on how Strixhaven is the doom of the hobby. Yeah, I really stretched it on this one. But yeah, these prompts are hard. Yeah. Maybe next year they should take some suggestions from their fans. They did it in the past. I'd like to see them do in the future. If you appreciate this content and want to hear more, let me know. If you never want to hear me talk about Wizards of the Coast ever again, 1,000 subs, and I promise I won't talk about Wizards of the Coast. So if you haven't subbed, please sub. And if I get 1,000 subs, I won't talk about Wizards of the Coast. Till then, I'm your grumpy guide to all things gaming. If you do go to school and you see this kid, avoid them. Avoid them. Look what they're doing. Yeah, avoid them. And yeah, what is safe and woke about that? Yeah, this twisted little brat is stitching together students and teachers to make this horrible monstrosity. Yeah.